I feel like when I'm creative testing, I'm really trying to figure out, yes, what creatively works, like what's appealing to the eye, but then also the angle or the hook that's working with it, and like to come up with like 100 variations of that. Is it going to move the needle enough for the smaller brands? Who knows? But for the bigger brands who have the budget to just spend to learn those small things, and then that those small things add up for them, I can see being more beneficial. But does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Jasmine, what do you think?
Yeah, kind of, I don't know, the same. I mean, I think you can, and I have to refer to the presentation that the guy from the fire team, I forgot his name, did,
Jess. Jess.
when he was like, it's not the whole point of testing. It's not to test millions of assets, right? It's to do it wisely, to really try to have that hypothesis of, I think he pulled up some meme of, I forgot it, but you know what I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, of course it's great to have a higher budget so you can do more stuff, but then I think higher budget on testing would necessarily mean higher waste, right?
Yeah.
One way or the other. So I don't know, I
Yeah.
never worked with a client spending more than 25K per month, so I'm really really coming from the really small perspective. And yeah, it's harsh. I don't know, how do
Yeah.
you guys feel?
Yeah, and I think too, like all these brands, like they actually started from like the all the brands that this guy's suggesting, they are all bootstrapped. They all started with a small scale. So it's easy to be like, oh, that's the playbook to do that. But actually the playbook is to ramp up to that that place, right? Like when you do have that budget to do that, like I think that it's not out of bounds to do that. I don't think it's like crazy, but you also really need to have a ton of systems in place, content creation wise, tracking your hypothesis and making sure like you're not just making stuff just to make stuff and run budget towards it. And then you've got to like be able to track all of that data across all those different channels. That's a lot to dial in and do. Um, am I against the higher amounts of testing? No, I'm not. But I think that there's certain amounts of tests that you should do like per budget. You still gotta, even if you pay for the content to be made, you still gotta run a certain amount of budget behind it to get it tested to see if it has enough like to have enough signal to see if it's good enough, and then be able to like scale that. And so there's going to be a lot of losses at the beginning. So if you all of a sudden just blitz your account with a ton of creative, you're going to probably have more losers up front, right? So it's better to get the losers out of the way on a smaller scale, and then they're able to do like they're able to do a ton of creative because they've done it at the small scale and seen they kind of know what works, and that's how that's allowed them to get there. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting thought exercise just to kind of think about it because every account is at a different place, and it's important to like it's interesting to always see what other people are doing, but it's also just as important to realize that you know we like every person you work with is at a different stage and has different goals and different needs, and so the creative should match that, and that's what makes it hard because there is not a best practice or a one size fits all, because sometimes something works for one brand, doesn't work for the other, right? Whether that's a hook, an angle, this and that, but also even strategy wise.